The Tariq pistol is actually one of the more rare variants of the Beretta Model 1951. Beretta sold the nation of Iraq, before the unpleasantness, an entire factory and tooling to make these guns.
One of the pistols that I've desired for the longest period of time to add to my own personal collection is the Iraqi Tariq pistol. Now, there's nothing really stunning or beautiful or ergonomic about this 9mm. In fact, it's just an exact copy of the Beretta Model 51 or Brigadier 9mm that Beretta put out in the post-World War II period. It's licensed by Beretta, and the fact that it is actually written on the slide of the gun that says licensed by Beretta makes it interesting to a collector. But for me, I found that the Tariq is very interesting because it was made in Iraq.
So governments change, and the relatively friendly government in Iraq eventually taken over by the Baathists, as represented by Saddam Hussein. And Hussein's troops, who our American forces fought in the first Gulf War, and then in the second Gulf War, their principal handgun, even though they were using a lot of Soviet equipment, was still the Tariq pistol. They had shut the factory down for a while. Then in about 2000, I think they opened it back up and they continued to make the guns. The early guns looked like they were made under ideal conditions. Some of the later guns, or even guns that have been well used, you typically don't see nice Tariqs. The name Tariq is derived from an 8th century general. He was a Berber general. He led an Islamic army into Visigothic Hispania and basically conquered the place. He fought a famous battle, and eventually the mountain there was called Jabal Tariq, and it's from that we get the name Gibraltar.
One of the things I found neat about the gun is that it had Walther-style, brown plastic grips. But instead of having what you might consider a factory roundel, like a Colt or Smith & Wesson or Beretta trademark logo and a roundel, there was the head of, I believe, King Hammurabi, the lawgiver, on the grips of the gun, which kind of made it interesting for me.
The strengths of the Tariq is that it is rugged and it is very reliable, and it is especially notably reliable in desert conditions, which is, of course, is important in the Middle East. The minuses: it's a somewhat dated design, has relatively crude fixed sights, and only an 8-round magazine capacity, which is relatively low compared to other 9mm service pistols today.
The Tariq was one of 2 pistols that the Iraqis were actually manufacturing in Baghdad at their arms factory. They also manufactured RPG launchers as well as AK-47s. So it was kind of neat being able to see a gun that actually says made in Baghdad or made in Iraq. And I think that they, if we were able to import them, they'd bring quite a premium over here, just for the fact that it's one of the few wars that we've been involved in for which there are no trophy guns available to the average collector. You want to try and put on a display of the guns of the War of Enduring Freedom, you're stuck with just the U.S. side of things, or some semi-automatic versions of the AK. But a pistol like the Tariq is something that would be legal here under normal circumstances anyway. It's just a shame that none have been imported for the U.S. collector's market.